Hi, boys and girls. I'm Mrs. Smith from Friendship Missionary Baptist Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. And today I'd like to read Book Fair Day. This book was written by Lynn Pauldrow, and the illustrator is Thor Whitstrom. Book Fair Day. Look at all the kids. I hope you like book fairs. They are so much fun. Reading is amazing. It helps you to explore places and see things and places that you may never get to see. Let's find out what happens on Book Fair Day. Book Fair Day was tomorrow, and everyone in the Shepards Class was anxious to buy a new book or two at the book fair, especially Dewey Booker. Dewey loved books more than he loved bubblegum, baseball cards, and bike riding. In fact, when Dewey's nose wasn't stuck in a book, he was dreaming and scheming about adding new books to his collection. Look at that. He's thinking about biographies and fables and mysteries. Oh my! Fantasies, comics, histories, all mine. Dewey rose before the sun on Book Fair Day. He needed to leave his house extra early since he had to walk all the way to school. There wouldn't be enough room on the bus. Look at what he made to buy all of his books and carry them home in. As Mrs. Shepherd greeted her students, "Good morning," she collected all their money envelopes and put them on her desk for safekeeping. Until the book fair, Dewey didn't have an envelope. He'd save every single penny he'd earned in a special book bank. Look at his bank. During morning circle time, Mrs. Shepherd explained, "Our class will be visiting the book fair in the library during the last half hour of the day. But to start our day, we're going to go read to our kindergarten book buddies. Hooray! We have the best book buddies. I've got a great story to read to my buddy this week." Groan! Look at Dewey. I wonder what's the matter. Let's read and find out. "What's wrong, Dewey?" asked Miss Shepherd. "I thought you liked book buddy time." "Oh, I do," said Dewey, getting down on his knees. "But please, can't we go to the book fair earlier in the day? If we go last, there won't be any books left, please." "Sorry, Dewey, but someone has to go last. This year, it's our turn. I'm sure there'll be plenty of good books for everyone." Down in the kindergarten room, Dewey couldn't keep his mind on the book he was reading to his buddy. After losing his place for the 5th time, he asked, "What time is your class going to the book fair?" His buddy answered, "I can't tell time, but teacher said we're going right after book buddy time." Dewey's eyes grew big. "Really?" "Oh, he's got a plan. Let's see what he's thinking." When it was time for Mrs. Shepherd's class to go back to their classroom and for the kindergartners to visit the book fair, Dewey got in line. It just wasn't exactly the right line. But just as he entered the library and reached towards the new Dinosaur Detective collection, he heard behind him. "Lose your way, Dewey?" asked Miss Shepherd. "Kinda," said Dewey. "I thought maybe there'd be a book of maps here to help me find my way back." "I'll show you the way," said Miss Shepherd. "How'd you know I was here?" asked Dewey as they headed out the door. "I have my sources," said Miss Shepherd. Dewey looked back at the Dinosaur Detective collection and whispered, I hope you won't be extinct by the time I come back. During recess, Dewey couldn't keep his mind on the ball. After getting bonked on the head for the 10th time, he asked his friends, Is that the library window? Think so. Sure, yep, they said. I think a ball might have gone in there, said Dewey. Help me up. Dewey's friend boosted him up high enough so that he could peek in. And there, on the book fair shelf, was the new Amazing Explorers Atlas. But just as Dewey reached for it, he heard behind him. Lost again, Dewey? Asked Miss Shepherd. Guess so, said Dewey. But maybe the atlas would help. I think maybe I could help, said Miss Shepherd. Just follow me. How'd you know I was here? Asked Dewey as he wriggled back out of the window. I have my ways, said Miss Shepherd, wiggling herself out. Dewey took one last glance at the Amazing Explorers Atlas and whispered, I hope you won't be lost by the time I come back. After lunch, Mrs. Shepards Class noticed the door to the hamster cage was open and the cage was empty. Yike! Where'd Bucky go? Maybe he went looking for something to eat. Hurry, everyone find Bucky. All of Miss Shepherd's students skirted and scattered to find their furry friend. Dewey crawled down the hallway looking for tiny paw prints. As Dewey passed the 15th door in the hallway, he realized where he was. Dewey crawled into the library, and there, right before his nose, was the Private Eye series. But just as Dewey reached for the books, he heard behind him. Did you think Bucky was hiding in a book, Dewey? Asked Miss Shepherd. No, answered Dewey. But maybe if I knew how to spy, I could find him faster. Not necessarily, said Miss Shepherd. We already did. How did you know I was here? Asked Dewey. I have my secrets, said Miss Shepherd. As they left, Dewey gave one last longing look at the Private Eye series and whispered, I hope you'll still be around to investigate by the time I come back. Finally, Mrs. Shepherd announced, Class, it's time to visit the book fair. Yippee! Let's go! Can't wait to see what they have this year. I hope there'll be a few books left, groaned Dewey. Mrs. Shepherd passed the students' money back to them and told them to line up. Everyone's elbowed and josted to try to get next to Dewey. I wonder why they want to get next to Dewey. Let's read and find out. At the book fair, before Dewey could even open a single book, his classmates begged and pestered him. Dewey, what do you think of these new fantasies? Dewey, have you read this book? Should I get it? Dewey, can you help me find a book I'd like? Dewey, what do you think of the author? Dewey, what do you recommend for me? Dewey, 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 Dewey. By the time Dewey had helped his 20 classmates, Mrs. Shepherd announced, Okay, everyone, time to head back to the classroom and get ready to go home. Dewey was dumbfounded. Oh, no! But I haven't. There are no books left, he cried as he looked at the bare book display. Just then, he heard, From underneath the table, Mr. Opus, the librarian, peeked his head out and asked, "Looking for these, Dewey?" "How did you know?" exclaimed Dewey when he saw the box filled with Dinosaur Detective collections, the Amazing Explorers Atlas, and the Private Eye series. "Let's just say we can read you like a book," said Mrs. Shepherd with a super-sized smile. Dewey had just enough money to buy all the new books he wanted. At the end of the day, Mrs. Shepherd hustled and bustled her students onto the bus. "Bye! See you tomorrow. Don't stay up too late reading your new books." Dewey reminded Mrs. Shepherd that he would be walking home today. Instead of taking the bus, she helped him load his book buggy and waved goodbye. Dewey hurried and scurried all the way home. He couldn't wait to get lost in all of his new books. He's so excited he didn't even go inside. He just dumped them all out on the lawn to read. I hope you like reading books like Dewey's. It is so much fun. Thank you for listening. The end. And I hope you enjoyed Book Fair Day. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.